Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Hey, it's me, the Quenchies. I'm that late afternoon craving you just can't shake. Wait, what's that? Welch's Grape Aid? No! Made with real fruit and no added sugar, nothing answers the call of the Quenchies like Grape Aid. Got the Quenchies? Grab a Grape Aid in your juice aisle.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits, including personal shoutouts, early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. As always, if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note, sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. I've said in previous episodes of the Red Treehouse that demonic possession and exorcism tend to get under my skin. And with each possession story, we've covered 4 to this point, I find myself creeped out all over again. I believe evil exists in the world. We don't have to look far to see or hear it. In fact, there are some days where I wonder if there's more evil than good out there. So for me at least, the issue is not whether evil is real or not. It's whether evil, in the form of devils and demons, can take hold of a person to the point their entire identity disappears. Their appearance, their voice, their functioning. All of it, in the blink of an eye, gone. Replaced with someone or something different, scary, threatening. A few minutes of this would be terrifying. A few hours, agonizing. A few days, torturous. But what about 26 years? I'm not sure there's a word for it. 26 years. That was the reality of Anna Ecklund, a woman who endured unspeakable horror for much of her life at the hands of her father, but also 5 demons. I'll offer a content warning before we continue. This story is dark and disturbing and includes discussion of sexual abuse. Listener discretion is advised. In this episode of The Red Treehouse, we're going to explore the dark, unsettling demonic possession and exorcisms of Anna Ecklund. Was she truly possessed by 5 demons? Or did she suffer from some undiagnosed and untreated mental illness? I'll share the story. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Quote, "The unfortunate woman was unknown to the pastor. She lived far from Earling, and up to then he had heard nothing about her. The Capuchin father had explained to him what her actual condition was, that she was a very pious and respectable person, now in her 40th year. Throughout her youth, she led a religious, fervent, and blameless life. In fact, she approached the sacraments frequently. After her 14th year, some unusual experiences manifested themselves. She wanted to pray, wanted to go to church, and as usual, receive Holy Communion. But some interior hidden power was interfering with her plans. The situation became worse instead of improving. Words cannot express what she had to suffer." End quote. These words come from page 8 of the pamphlet, Begone, Satan, written by Father Karl Vogl and published in the 1930s. The unfortunate woman was Anna Ecklund, and the unusual experiences were claimed to be demonic possession. Born sometime around March 1882, she was the child of German immigrants who emigrated to Marathon, Wisconsin. Something interesting. The name Anna Ecklund is a pseudonym. Her real name is still unknown, but many believe her to be Emma Schmidt. There aren't many details about Anna's early childhood, but it seems her mother left the family when Anna was still young, leaving her with Jakob Ecklund, her father. By all accounts, Anna was a devout Catholic who enjoyed going to church several times each week and participating in the ceremony and rituals. Anna's life was somewhat ordinary, with one major exception: her father, Jakob. Jakob Ecklund was an alcoholic and decidedly irreligious. In fact, where Anna loved the church and participated as often as possible, Jakob mocked Anna and the church and faith in general. Though details on Anna's early childhood and adolescent years are sparse, most sources seem to agree she grew up relatively normal, until sometime between her 10th and 14th birthday. I've already mentioned it, but I'll do so again. The following contains discussion of sexual abuse and incest. Listener discretion is advised. Sometime between 10 and 14 years old, Anna's father tried several times, unsuccessfully, to entice her into an incestuous relationship. The relationship between Anna and her father became increasingly tense as she continuously resisted her father's pedophilic advances. Something interesting. Jakob Ecklund had a proclivity for incestuous relationships. Not only did he attempt a sexual relationship with Anna, but he also entered a relationship with a woman named Mina, who was either his biological sister or stepsister. Either way, Mina was Anna's aunt, and she was quite well known in the community. In fact, her reputation preceded her, as she was believed to practice black magic and witchcraft. One article reported Jakob Ecklund put a curse on Anna, quote, after she refused an incestuous relationship with him, end quote. The environment surrounding young Anna Ecklund was difficult, to say the least. An alcoholic pedophile father engaged in an incestuous relationship with a family member who, by all accounts, was a witch. At the age of 14, Anna's personality and behavior took a turn. The young girl who was enamored with church began missing services. When asked the reason for this, Anna offered a cryptic response, quote, she was unable to attend, end quote. She also reported feeling repulsed by religious artifacts and symbols. She had difficulty entering religious buildings and spaces, stating she was physically unable to do so. Anna's behavior grew increasingly disturbing. One article detailed this change. Quote, "These voices tried their utmost to arouse thoughts of the most shameful type within her, and tried to induce her to do things unmentionable, and even to bring her to despair. The poor creature was helpless, and secretly was of the opinion that she would become insane." End quote. The concern over Anna's behavior led to the determination that she was demon-possessed. It was reported that, quote, "she heard demonic voices, had a revulsion to holy objects, and hissed like a cat." End quote. One article suggested Anna had a physical reaction taking communion, often gagging and vomiting. On June 18, 1912, the first exorcism was performed by Father Theophilus Reisinger. Few details are known about this exorcism. However, it is believed to have been successful. After the exorcism, Anna resumed a normal life. Then, Jakob Ecklund, Anna's father, passed away. Following her father's death, Anna once again had difficulty practicing her faith. She struggled to go to church and began acting in bizarre and terrifying ways. During one violent incident, Anna attempted to suffocate her spiritual counselor. She began hearing voices and had strange urges to destroy religious relics, including rosaries, Bibles, and crucifixes. She turned to whoever was willing to help her: doctors, physicians, mental health professionals. But no one had an answer, much less a treatment, for her ailments. Eventually, she turned to the one place she'd felt solace in her life: the church. For the next 16 years, Anna received care and counseling to try and figure out her situation. Nothing helped, but several strange details were noted about Anna's behavior. Anna understood languages she'd never studied or known previously. More specifically, Anna knew Latin and was conversant with priests when they spoke to her in the language. And she had a sixth sense of sorts, the ability to sense the proximity of religious relics, artifacts, or symbols. As these drew nearer, she would become incensed and require their removal. In 1928, over 16 years after her first exorcism, Anna was formally declared to be demon-possessed by the Catholic Church. Father Theophilus Reisinger, who performed Anna's first exorcism, was called upon once again. By this time, he was a renowned exorcist and claimed to have performed nearly 24 successful exorcisms. Something interesting. Father Reisinger preferred that Anna's second exorcism be performed out of the public eye, and desired it take place in a small town. Earling, Iowa was chosen, in large part because of its small town status, with a population of around 500 people. Father Reisinger was meticulous in his preparation and arranged for transportation, housing, and more to be secured as secretly as possible. One article stated, quote, "No one was to know of the events outside of those directly in contact with either Anna or those working alongside and assisting directly with the exorcism itself." End quote. Earling, Iowa was deemed suitable for another reason. It housed a small convent. with one of Father Reisinger's close friends serving as the parish minister. When Father Reisinger approached Father Steiger with the prospect of performing the exorcism at the convent, he was initially reluctant. Despite his apprehension, Father Steiger told Father Reisinger that if the latter could secure permission from the Mother Superior, he would allow the exorcism to take place. Something fascinating. It was noted that once the exorcism was underway, Father Steiger regretted allowing it to take place at all. In fact, it appears that he made his deal with Father Reisinger based on the assumption that Mother Superior would reject the plan, sparing him the indignity of turning down his friend. What Father Steiger didn't know was that Father Reisinger had already gotten permission from Mother Superior before meeting with him. Keeping his word, Father Steiger reluctantly agreed to allow Anna Ecklund to be transported to the convent for the exorcism ritual. Anna was transported by train from Wisconsin to Earling, Iowa, and at first she was happy to oblige the priest traveling with her. At this point, she was receptive to the church's help and thought exorcism would be the solution to her problems. However, she became increasingly violent towards clergy. Father Reisinger, wanting to remain separate from Anna until the exorcism, traveled separately. He'd arranged to be driven by Father Steiger, who'd recently purchased a new car. However, on the day of the trip, Father Steiger's car mysteriously would not start, and after some delay, he arrived nearly 2 hours late to pick up Reisinger, who for his part attributed the struggle to the devil. The first exorcism of Anna Ecklund took place on August 18, 1928, and was filled with tension. The night before, one of the nuns in the convent sprinkled Anna's meal with holy water before serving it to her. One article described what happened next. Quote, "The mere presence of the food, blessed as it was, enraged her, and she began purring like a cat while refusing to eat even a single mouthful, until it was taken away, and a fresh, unblessed meal had been brought up for her." End quote. Each time a blessed item was brought near Anna, she began screaming and growling like an animal and making other scary noises. It was reported that Anna made various animal sounds, including barking like a dog, meowing like a cat, and laughing like a pack of hyenas. On the morning of August 18, 1928, Father Reisinger had Anna's arms restrained to limit the use of her hands and to minimize the risk of physical attack. While this was being done, Father Reisinger and several others prepared themselves for what they thought would be a lengthy exorcism, perhaps lasting several days. Within minutes of the start of the exorcism, as Father Reisinger began reciting the names of the Holy Trinity, Anna did something physics-defying and terrifying. She sprung from the bed and landed on top of the doorframe, sideways on the wall, clinging with her hands and feet, growling and snarling at those below. Begone, Satan describes this incident in scary detail. Quote, "Father Theophilus had hardly begun the formula of exorcism in the name of the Blessed Trinity, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, in the name of the crucified Savior, when a hair-raising scene occurred. With lightning speed, the possessed dislodged herself from her bed and from the hands of the guards, and her body carried through the air, landed high above the door of the room, and clung to the wall with a tenacious grip. All present were struck with a trembling fear. Father Theophilus alone kept his peace. pull her down. She must be brought back to her place upon the bed. Real force had to be applied to her feet to bring her down from her high position on the wall. The mystery was that she could cling to the wall at all. It was through the powers of the evil spirit who had taken possession of her body. End quote. After Anna was placed back on the bed, she was restrained to avoid this happening again. As she struggled, Anna began frothing at the mouth and vomiting. The substances were described as liquid and solid, including tobacco leaves and spices. The quantity of her vomiting was unusual, considering she had little to eat or drink on the morning of the exorcism. Perhaps of particular interest was the horrid stench that emanated from Anna. Over the course of 8 days, Anna Ecklund endured several exorcisms, and in the process, Father Reisinger learned she was possessed not by one demon, but by 5 demons: Judas, Beelzebub, Lucifer, her father Jacob, and his mistress Mina. The 5 main demons were supported by scores of lesser demons, and the battle for Anna's soul raged for 8 long days. On August 26, 1928, Father Reisinger decided it was best to take a break, as Anna was clearly struggling. She'd hardly eaten or drank and was haggard, pale, and deathly thin. The second series of exorcisms began on September 13, 1928, and lasted another 7 days. As Father Reisinger worked to expel the demons, more details about Anna's possessions came to the surface. Father Reisinger discovered he could speak to the individual demon in the specific language they were addressed, and Father Reisinger believed the demons had the capability to understand any language on earth. When speaking with Beelzebub, Father Reisinger learned he had possessed Anna when she was a teenager, at the age of 14, and that he had also possessed her at a much younger age. Beelzebub revealed that he'd been given the mission directly from Satan, who received permission to possess Anna from her father Jacob. When speaking with Judas, Father Reisinger learned he was, in fact, the apostle who betrayed Jesus. He spoke with a booming voice, which took everyone in the room by surprise. Many of the sisters who were helping ran from the room in fear and shock. Judas revealed he'd been tasked by Lucifer to torture Anna and drive her to suicide, stating, quote, "to bring her to despair, so that she will commit suicide and hang herself. She must get the rope. She must go to hell." End quote. When speaking with Jacob, Father Reisinger learned he was banished to hell after cursing his own daughter and mocking the church and faith. Now in hell, Jacob schemed to ruin his daughter's life, as she had supposedly done to him by spurning his sexual advances. When speaking with Mina, Father Reisinger learned she was banished to hell for placing the curse on Anna, but also for her incestuous relationship with Jacob. But there was something else. Mina murdered her own children. She revealed killing each of her children and demonstrated no remorse, as evidenced by her forgetting how many children she had. Father Reisinger spoke to each of the demons in terrifying conditions. Lesser demons howled and screamed, and interrupted the conversation to point out their suffering. All of this had a profound impact on Anna physically, as at times she appeared weighed down, pressed into the mattress, and unable to move. Other times, she appeared light and as if she was levitating just above the bed. She cursed and screamed at those in the room. She mocked them for sins they'd committed, sins they'd never confessed. At times, her face and body appeared red and swollen. At other times, she appeared haggard and pale. The room smelled horrible, and it was difficult to stay in the room for more than a few minutes at most. On September 20th, after 7 days, Father Reisinger stopped the exorcism once again to take a break. Of all the helping hands in and out of the room, Father Steiger suffered the most. He reported having difficulty sleeping at night, hearing rats in his bedroom walls, and feeling his room and bed vibrating. His initial reluctance grew to full-blown opposition, and he let Father Reisinger know this. For his part, Father Reisinger assured Father Steiger that it was simply the devil trying to get between them, and that meant the exorcisms were working. Still, Father Steiger could not get the demonic voices out of his head, especially when he was threatened with the parish turning against him. One cryptic threat hung heavy over Father Steiger's head. Quote, "I cannot harm God directly, but I can touch you in his church. Just wait until the end of the week. When Friday comes then." End quote. The next Friday, Father Steiger was called to a dying woman's home to read the last rites and administer the last sacraments. He drove his own car, but like before, had difficulty starting it. Eventually, he got it going, and he began the familiar journey to the woman's home. On the way back, Father Steiger noticed black smoke up further on the road near a bridge, traversing a deep ravine. When he reached the bridge, the smoke enveloped his car, and he lost control. His car slammed into the railings of the bridge, overturned, and teetered over the edge of the bridge above the ravine. Father Steiger carefully maneuvered and escaped the vehicle without it falling over the edge of the bridge. A local farmer who saw the accident came and provided help, and Father Steiger suffered no major injuries. When he arrived to Anna's room, the demon inside her let out a sinister laugh and said, "I certainly showed him up today. What about your new auto? That dandy car which was smashed to smithereens? It serves you right." End quote. The third and final series of exorcisms began on December 15th, 1928, and lasted 8 days. This time, Father Steiger stayed away for the most part, finding other tasks to keep him busy. By this point, many of the lesser demons had been expelled, leaving Father Reisinger to battle the main demons possessing Anna. Sensing the end was near, Father Reisinger performed the exorcism ritual for 3 days and 3 nights, non-stop. On December 22nd, 1928, there was a breakthrough. Anna leapt from the bed and almost levitated above it. Father Reisinger banished the demons. Anna fell to the bed, smiled, opened her eyes, and stated, quote, "My Jesus mercy, praise be Jesus Christ," end quote. The demons, all of them, were gone. In these last moments, Father Reisinger claimed to have seen, quote, "a vision of the room circled in flame, with Lucifer and Beelzebub standing in the corner, seething in rage with their inability to assault the priest." He described Lucifer as tall, with matted black fur on his lower hooved body." End quote. By all accounts, Anna Ecklund lived a normal life, and it is believed she died on July 23rd, 1941, at the age of 59. For me, these possession stories get scarier each time I read them. Perhaps not as well known as the possessions of Anneliese Michael or Roland Doe. The story of Anna Ecklund is truly unsettling, to say the least. And there are some interesting similarities between her story and others that came after it. No matter the account, there's one thing that always leaves me unsettled. That for these individuals, religious piety led not to sainthood, but to spiritual torture. As if, in some sick and twisted way, their faith and subsequent possession proved the existence of evil. If even remotely true, it seems too steep a price to pay. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with this lingering question. Was Anna Ecklund truly possessed by 5 demons? Or was she suffering from an undiagnosed and untreated mental illness? I've shared the story. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.